Hey guys, it doesn't matter,
I love the dream.
this is episode 34 of our podcast, Confessions of a Stand Mixer Edition. Today we are doing our review of the second episode of The Search. We did the first episode, and so we're going to continue on doing these because we think it's fun. So last time when we did the first episode, we did it really based on like kind of the format and the overall like pros and cons of what we liked and didn't like. And we did that because it was the pilot episode and it was like new to us. Going forward, we'll be doing it more discussion based on like what specifically happens in each episode. So that's how this episode and last episode are going to differ a bit. So first off, I have in my notes written down, Rosie really reminded me of Ellie Goulding for some reason.
Yes.
If you asked me to tell you why, I couldn't, but I did. It really did.
Yeah, she does.
So like in the what should we call it, the auditions, obviously, I wonder how many of the shots where the girls look at each other during an audition is real and how many are like edited together,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of like Jesse like making eye contact with Perry and Jade, and I wonder like how real that is, like how much of that is like they truly made eye contact in that moment.
Yeah. Or if it was from a different audition or just didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I have three things that kind of like line up together because I thought of them all at once. Also, I'm gonna say this in this episode because I'm gonna have to say it in the next one, and we've said it in the last two. In case you didn't watch one or the other, I just
Oh, that's
had
right. Yeah.
surgery in my mouth for my wisdom teeth, so I sound a little funny. It's fine. We're gonna go with it. So I'll either sound funny or I won't be talking as much as normal when we get further into it, depending on some stuff. So I have this is really random, but I have like the text on the screen during Rosie's audition was cool. So like I think they did this in the last episode, but I didn't like notice it. But when they have text on the screen, either
You mean like when
when the
they're like introducing themselves and talking and stuff?
yeah, it was like it. I don't know if it was something that they had said or if it was something that was from like their phone or something. I don't know. I just thought it was cool. It looked cool. Um,
Yeah, I noticed that. I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly what you're referring to, but I remember. I don't, they like really nailed this for me because I could have very easily hated this, but they do some like kind of like fancy like animation text to like bold out certain words they say in like their interviews and stuff like before they go
yeah,
in. And I just think I agree. I think it was cool if we're referring to the same thing.
yeah, I think we are. It's just it looks so like visually appealing.
Yeah, editing of the search is a solid 100.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so like the other two things I have is when they were whispering in front of Rosie before she auditioned. Um, I don't know why, but like I would have been so nervous if I heard them whispering about me like before I started singing, even though it was like good what they were saying. It would have terrified me. So I just thought that was something to put in there.
You're like, I got secondhand terrified. Thank you.
Yeah, because I would have, because you wouldn't know. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm wondering, like, did she hear them? Like, I had so many questions. And then this like isn't directly related to it because she got through, but I was thinking, and I think I had it in my notes for the last episode, but I don't think I actually said it. Um, do you think people who don't make it through get considered for other categories?
Mm,
Because I feel like they should.
I don't think so. I mean, like, if the girls had on the spot been like, you know what? Like, I'm really vibing this. Like, I'm really feeling this. I think they would have. But I think, based on what some of the contestants have said, that they were placed into the categories they auditioned into.
Um,
I think there was someone who said like, "Oh, I auditioned to be part of like this group and I was put into the mixed category."
oh, okay.
And I'm sure Little Mix, if they had wanted to, could have been like, "Actually, you know what? I'm changing it up." But that didn't happen, so my guess is no.
Yeah, just because, like, because I mean, obviously, like, a lot, like, most of the categories are pretty specific to like that category.
Mhm.
But like I feel like girl vocal and mix, like if there was somebody like a girl from mix that sounded like good but it didn't work with the group, like they could have just like I wonder like if that was ever a thought.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. Like if they ever like debated it and it just didn't happen or something.
Yeah, like I've been thinking about that since this aired. Like I've always wondered it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I have that I was unimpressed with Beauty and I was surprised the girl said yes.
Mhm.
I don't really know why. I just like I don't know. I guess like it just didn't work. Like it didn't work for me. And I thought I don't know. I was surprised that the girls were like so enthused and like said yes. That's really the only note I have on that one.
Yeah, I don't even have any on Beauty, but yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan um as much as I was for some of the other ones.
Yeah, like I wanted to be, but I just wasn't. There was like a misconnect for me.
Yeah.
I like don't have a ton of commentary in the other editions, but one I do have is that Jordan to me comes off as really insincere. Maybe that's because we know him from YouTube, and so like that just like kind of messes with my mind a bit. But I kind of felt like he was working the show.
Maybe.
I don't know. I can't really explain it, and I don't say that in a mean to like paint him in a bad light. Obviously, like that's what you do. Like you go on the show and then you work it to your advantage. So I'm not saying he was doing anything wrong. He just like came off as like he wasn't necessarily actually there to be in a band, and he was there for he was playing the game more than the other contestants. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just like kind of a vibe I got from him. Um, that doesn't mean like he was the only one or anything. It's just that's just what I picked up on. That said, though, I thought his audition was still like cute, you know?
Yeah, like I didn't necessarily get that vibe off of him in the audition, but like if you were to ask me now, I would say yes, just like because of like afterwards and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I loved his audition. I thought it was really iconic. Like, um,
I did too. I thought his audition was so cute. I just had a weird vibe.
yeah, like it was a good song choice. And like I have this a little bit further down, but I feel like it kind of goes with this. Like I feel like a lot of the contestants that didn't get all the way through or got some really harsh critiques could have been solved by like the song choice.
Mm,
Like I don't know why, but I just feel like not for all of them, but for like quite a few people, like not just in this episode, but like for the last one and like some like future ones, I feel like just this song just it just didn't sound necessarily like right to me, but then when they would be singing in further stages, it was fine. I don't know if that was just me, but like they once they figured out their sound, like I really liked it. I don't know. That's just something that I always thought throughout the auditions was that something just didn't feel right for some of them.
and I think like auditions are probably really nervous, and so they're not going to sound their best.
Yeah, definitely.
The next one I have is that I really liked the question of what kind of band do you see yourself in?
Yeah.
The girls didn't ask it every time, at least as far as we saw. Who knows, like what got cut out? But I really liked that question. I liked to see what the answer was.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I feel like it really said a lot about like kind of like weeded out why they were there. Like, are they just there because it's a talent show, or because they're there because they're actually interested in the concept? And then like what they see as their role in the group and like what group they want to be in. I just thought it was a good question.
Yeah, I feel like you can kind of sniff out the people who are really there for it like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Something that I have is that the soundtrack in this show is so good. Like
Yeah.
it's just so good. Like I love it.
Um, I have the Jerry versus Leslie split is interesting.
Yeah, that is.
I feel like we'll see it kind of like get stronger and stronger in certain episodes, but I started to notice it in this episode that like there was a very like interesting common theme where like Leslie was for it and Jerry was not, or like vice versa, you know?
Yeah, and something too with that is like I feel like in auditions it's like Leslie versus Jerry like most of the time when they're like having a tough time like when they're disagreeing about somebody. But then when it's the the final group selection, they don't agree. Like Jade and Perry a lot of the time.
Oh
So I think
yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, all of it was really interesting. The dynamic was just like,
It surprised me.
yeah. Um so I remember I thought that was interesting. I have here that like Promise wasn't for me, but I thought he was a good performer, but like he didn't do anything for me personally.
Yeah, I thought that audition was really sad. Like afterwards, like I felt the sadness.
Yeah.
I have like two kind of, again, not so much like things that happened in the episode, but things I was just like thinking about. Like this is another one that I don't remember if I said last episode, but I had like written it down like briefly, and it was like I realized that it's a disadvantage if you audition later on. Like if
Oh,
you're
like
not,
later in the day, you mean?
yeah, like if you're not the first one, because like I feel like a lot of the times like the
Because you get
first
them like
few,
cranky and tired.
yeah, and like the first two normally kind of set the tone for the group how they're gonna be. And so like if you don't match the other people that are have already been through, like you're kind of done. But if you're one of the first ones, I feel like you have more of like a leeway because they could build it differently.
Oh yeah, that is true. Like there were a lot of people who ended up getting turned away because they didn't fit like the band that was already being built.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting.
That is
And
true, yeah.
and like another thing too, this kind of goes with it's not exactly with that, but it's a little bit. And it's like I wonder if they should have done all the auditions on the same day. Like I feel like if it were me, I would have done, cuz how many were there in total? 6. Um I would have done 2 groups per day, so 3 days in total just to kind of like refresh myself and go in and listen like new, just because I feel like, I mean, I don't know exactly what order like the groups were auditioned in. Like I don't know if the order that we're seeing it was the order of how it happened,
Right.
but I feel like from what I remember for future episodes, the boy group was a lot more nitpicky than some of the later ones were. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I just That's another thing I thought of. Like I wonder like if it would have been the same results if they had done it different days.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah,
They
because that's kind of,
definitely made the choice to do it in one day just for production reasons. But
yeah,
that is
that's the other
interesting if
thing.
like because no one wants to pay to have to hold that space for longer than a day.
Yeah, definitely not.
Because they're like in a studio. For anyone who's not familiar, they're definitely like set up in a studio, which means they're like paying for
Big
that
budget.
time. Yeah. And it's like to like rebuild the set and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Like maybe if they were kind of getting a little tired and got a little less like detail oriented about it and stuff. That yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are just things that like I start to think about. So yeah.
Um I'm gonna say his name wrong, especially because I watched this 2 weeks ago. Um um Arun? Is that right?
Aaron.
Aaron. Is it really Aaron?
I'm pretty sure.
Why? It's just it's a U. I want to say the U sound.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Aaron.
I mean, technically, I guess I'm saying ooh, which is like an O sound, but it's a U sound. um. Okay, so Aaron, if that's right, I hope that's right. So sorry if we're getting that wrong. Um, I would have gotten it right if if I'd watched the episode before we did this, but I watched it a couple weeks ago, and so I didn't. Um, and I think if you guys have learned anything from this podcast, it's that I suck at pronunciations of things, especially names. Um, all right. So I have that I didn't really like the angle of like a stan coming onto the show.
Same.
And I never really like that. It doesn't really matter like what the show is. I'm not interested in it. It's too much for me. And I get the hypocrisy, guys. Um, yeah. And I mean, like, there were some people who came on who were like fans, and that was fine, but like, he was clearly like a stan, and
Mhm.
like, like that narrative was pushed too hard for me. And I thought that he was super duper talented, but it was like too extra for me on the vocals. and but it was really funny to see the girls like try not to sing along to Move, because they're like over there like doing the dance, like trying not to sing along to it because they're supposed to be listening to his vocals. Like,
Yeah.
so I thought that was really cute and funny. But overall, I just like I didn't love like the narrative they took with him.
Yeah, I have a lot about that. Actually, I have like two bullet points, but or three. Yeah, I preferred how the majority of the contestants weren't huge fans. Because like you said, like obviously like some of them were like regular fans. Um, but like it just reminded me of like X Factor, especially around the time that Demi Lovato and Britney
Yes,
Spears were on.
that's what I was thinking too.
Right? It's like it's just a lot of that, like I don't want to say like insane fan behavior because obviously he wasn't like that, but like you've seen the like fan auditions from some other talent shows and they're really extreme,
Yeah,
and I didn't want that to happen on here. So even though he wasn't like that, like it was obviously a possibility for other people to do that. Um and so I liked how a lot of the contestants had like that balance of knowing who they were, being a fan, but not being an, a stan pretty much, because I feel like one that made it easier for the girls to judge them on, um, because I feel like they would feel extra guilty almost if they said no. Um,
yeah,
and honestly, it just kind of made it a little less cringy. Um, not
agreed.
like I keep saying this stuff, but like I don't mean him, just like the concept in general.
Yeah, no, like it could have been if he'd brought any stand in, I would have cringed. It's not like him specifically. It's just like the whole concept of bringing a stand on, like, makes me feel awkward.
Yeah, like he was great.
He
And so
deserved to be there 100%.
yeah, but at the same time, I wonder if like that was a main reason they brought him through. Um, was because of that. Like obviously he was really talented, but in my mind he didn't really match up with the other
Yeah.
people. So I wonder if he was brought through because of that reason, but then there were two contestants before him that didn't get through that I thought would have matched up pretty well. Um, so yeah, that was something I noticed.
Next one I have is that I really loved that they did the scale harmony with Billy and Louis.
Hmm.
Louis Lewis.
I think it's
Louis.
Louis.
Um And I just felt like it was really interesting, and I felt like it was something you don't see on other talent shows.
Yeah.
Um, like, I mean, like you don't see like the main like let's harmonize together, but like you also don't really see the judges like getting musically involved, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was like kind of a moment that just in my own head, I don't think it necessarily did like for the general public, but in my head, like it came across as like giving them some credibility that like they were worried about whether they'd be able to harmonize with other people, that they were like, can you harmonize with us? Like, we're just going to harmonize on the spot. Let's go. I don't know, I just felt like it was a different side to them, I guess is really what I mean to say. We see them mess around in interviews and like and harmonize and stuff, but that wasn't them playing around. That was them being like, well, like this is work. Like, can you harmonize with other people? Like, we'll start you off, you know?
Yeah, I like that. I feel like the only other show you see that happen in is like The Voice, and that still is like kind of random because I think like Jennifer Hudson and Kelly Clarkson do it sometimes. Um, so yeah, I I think that's just like really cool because I feel like it gives the contestant almost like a little confidence boost, being like, oh, okay, like this is happening type of thing. I don't know.
Just makes it like a little more interactive and less like you're standing in front of the class.
Yes, that's what I was trying to go for.
um yeah, I don't know, I just thought it was really cool, and then it was still interesting to see that their default was still like I don't even necessarily want to like it was just interesting that the way they were sitting was kind of perfectly arranged for their default harmony. Right, which is like Jesse on the bottom, Lee, Perry, and then Jay didn't join until the end, but like I just thought like it was interesting. And then they obviously did a cut, right? So they said, if we do this, could you do it? And they went, yeah. And then it's obviously a cut because um you can just tell because of where Jesse's sitting on the couch. It like made me wonder, like, did they decide Jesse was about to do it? Did Jesse just know she was going to start the harmony? Like, I don't know. I just found that interesting because, visually we think like, oh, it's just going to be a nice pan because they're all sitting arranged that way. But if they had been sitting in a different order, like, would they still have done their default harmony?
Yeah, I never thought about that.
I just feel like that would be interesting. And I specifically think about like the default harmony they did in, I don't know what country they were in, Norway maybe, and it's that guy who mans spreads, and and like he asked them to say like a word in a foreign language or something, and then Jesse goes, we can harmonize it. And so she starts it, and then Lee goes, and then Jade goes, and then Perry goes. But they're sitting in that order. And so it just like happens to work out that way, right? And you watch it, and Jesse goes like, we can do a harmony, and the girls just wait for her to start. Like they're just staring at her. And so you get the vibe that like, okay, so in their minds, whether it's because she does the lower harmonies or whether because she said it or because she's just situated on that side of the couch, like they went in order that way, and that's how they did the harmony. And I was like, is it another one of those situations where it's like that's just how they were sat? Or like, is that just like what they would have done even if they had been in a different order because that's like their default?
That's interesting. I don't know.
And I mean, like maybe we would have known that if there hadn't been the cut, because maybe like they were like Jesse, like, but yeah, there was like no communication about it, because even if you said like Jesse's gonna start it, there was no communication about who would do the next one. It was just like they all stared at her. Jesse started, Lee went. Like they all look at each other when they do it, right? So before Jesse starts, they stare at her, and then Lee goes, and then Harry stared at Lee, and then Jade was staring at them, and then like once they got around, they all stared at Billy and Louie.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like no one, like, I mean, Jade gave Billy and Louie the hand signal to do their part, but like the girls didn't go like, okay, you next, and you know what I mean? Like they just went in order. I don't know. It's just interesting, and so I remember thinking that it was just a really cool moment in a lot of ways for me personally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I never even thought about that. Also, on since we're on like the topic of their audition, I love Billy and Louie so much.
I didn't really understand why they got through, but I adore them.
Yeah, like I feel like they are stronger like by themselves. Like they could like succeed just with like as them.
I think they could. And I mean, I feel like they could fit into a group, but not the group the girls had.
No, like they had some combination that was happening in like the final performance. Like it was like them two singing with I don't even remember like
I think it was
some
Aaron.
other ones maybe. And it sounded really cool. So I was really sad that they got cut, but yeah, I love them.
I don't mean singing wise. I mean like the look side of things
Oh
and like the
yeah.
performance side of things. Like that's not the group that they were building at all.
Yeah, definitely not.
And so I was really surprised I got through. Like I adore them, and I'm glad we got to see more of them before they like left. But I was like, really?
Yeah, it's like a different vibe than what they had in mind.
Yeah, like I don't think that they make bad performers or anything. I think that they did, like, they held their own on stage, but they held their own in a very different way
Yeah.
than the group that was being built. So yeah, I was really surprised, but I do adore them, and I thought they were so talented.
Hmm.
I have a note here that I really liked the talking head interviews from the girls. I don't remember exactly what
Yes.
was being said 2 weeks later, but I remember really liking it.
I think it might have been when they were talking about their roles in the group because I think I know what you're talking about because I was gonna write it down and then I forgot.
I mean, like, I remember the scene, I just don't remember what they were saying, but like it was, I mean, we'll start to see those talking head interviews as we continue on in the episodes because those were also filmed all in one day. Um,
Hmm.
but like it's also where they do a group shot. I call it a talking head interview because that's what you call it. in the industry. um, but so if I guess if no one knows what I'm talking about, what I mean is it's the interviews, it's like the inserts of the girls just like sitting there answering questions or like giving context or telling stories. That's like a talking head interview. So I really liked those. They have like the individual ones and they have them all as a group, and I liked them the entire time. I'm definitely gonna keep commenting on the fact that I really liked those sections. I just can't remember what they were talking about that I liked this time.
Yeah.
Maybe it is what you were talking about.
Yeah, maybe. It might have been a different part in the episode, but I was definitely going to comment on him, and I don't think I did.
Okay, so I have Andy, who the guy who works in the cocktail bar. Um,
Hmm.
I saw him as more of a solo artist.
Yeah, same. Like, I thought he had a nice voice and stuff, but he just didn't blend in with the others.
Yeah, I mean, TBH also found him kind of obnoxious. Um,
Yeah, that
but
was a little weird.
yeah. But mostly just thought that he like would make a better solo artist.
Yeah.
Um, all right, maybe this is just me. Tell me if you also see this. Melina's
Okay.
attitude and sass was everything, but
Hmm.
in the beginning of the performance, in a performance aspect, she kind of reminded me of Jessie. Like something about like her vibe.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm trying to think of like the beginning of her audition.
I wonder if there's a YouTube clip of it we could watch. Like I wonder if they put up a clip of
I
her audition.
feel like
No
Little Mix
audition.
the source probably did.
Oh yeah, probably. Oh yeah, if you Google it, you'll see it.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Okay, let me just watch the beginning real quick.
Around the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I just passed that part.
Like not the whole time, just like around that bit.
Yeah, it's like just the way she says some things reminds me of her.
Yeah. Like in just some of the choices like the performance choice to kind of like squat is
Yeah.
something Jessie does a lot when she's being aggressive.
Yeah.
And it I don't think the other girls really do it. I don't think I've seen. I mean, let's be fair. I don't watch a ton of other performers perform live a gajillion times, um, but like I know specifically like Jessie really does that a lot. I notice it a lot because I always think like, what is your core strength and leg strength like? Because I feel like it would burn. And Melina didn't do like the full squat, but like with the aggressive like pointing and like I don't know, it was just like a little bit of Jessie. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that.
But her attitude and sass, like overall, was everything.
Yeah, that was she had another audition that I think was just really, really good. Um, like I love the song choice. I loved like the performance. I love just all of it.
Really liked her, but she even like continued to grow on me as her audition started. But I liked her at the beginning, so I was just like, "You're very likable." Like,
Yeah, she really is.
okay, but Jade being surprised Hachi was there made me laugh.
Yeah, like she had no
Perry's like,
idea.
Hachi. It's like she is. Like, what is Perry doing? Hiding him?
Probably.
So I thought that was funny that like Jade didn't know. I don't know why. It's not important at all, but like I giggled.
Yeah.
Um, and then I had a question at the end when like all the girls looked at like they did that thing where at the end they take a look at the room, you know?
Hmm.
Why were there only two girls?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like cuz Melina and Rosie get in and they're like, "Oh god, like thank god I was thinking I was going to be the only girl." And the whole point is the mixed group, and then I was wondering like why is that? Like they had 10 people in a room and it was mostly male. And then I was wondering, like, is it because they directed the majority of the applicants, the majority of the female applicants to the two girl group categories?
That's what I was thinking because like those two were very specific, like girl categories, but then there was only one specific boy one.
Yeah, so I was thinking like maybe that was the reason why. But I also just thought like two of them and the last girl is like the last audition. Like that just seemed really low to me, you know?
Yeah, and there were other girls who auditioned too that didn't get through, but I thought they should have.
Yeah, like I thought they were really good. So I just thought it was an interesting dynamic to look at, that that's how it ended up being.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I mean, I am jumping ahead a little bit, but then it also made me think, like, did Rosie, I think it was Rosie who said it, maybe I'm wrong, or I think Rosie made the comment of like, oh, good, I thought I was going to be the only girl. And I remember thinking to myself later in the episode, is that why? Like, they were just de facto in, right?
Maybe.
Like, because you had to have at least one of them. And if Rosie didn't want to be the only girl, they really didn't even audition past the
Yeah.
initial point. Like, they didn't go through the rehearsal or the concert in a the way the others did, because there weren't enough girls. It was just like, well, those ones are our only ones, so we
Yeah.
have to base the band around them, and they have to both get in, because Rosie wants, if it wasn't Rosie and it was Melina, my bad, but like Rosie wants another girl. Those are the only two girls, and then we have to fit the band around what those two girls do, and that means that Aaron and Billy and Louie definitely don't fit.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Not that they're not talented and deserve to be in the mixed group. That's not what I mean whatsoever. They definitely do. I was just like, I don't know. I was thinking about that as I was watching it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
All right, moving on to the audition part, right? The rehearsals. Well, we were just at the audition part,
Yes.
but the rehearsals. um, okay, I love this. This happens like every episode. Okay. Um, I don't know if you noticed this, but when Jade and Perry talk about, like, when they're explaining how they move on to the next stage of the audition process,
Hmm.
um, they add in the word audition when the girls explain it, because they don't actually say the word in this, like, the day of filming. They didn't actually say the word concert audition or like audition or whatever. I guess it was too ambiguous. And I guess someone decided along the way in the editing process that they wanted the girls to be more clear. And so it's very clear in the audio change that when you listen to it, that like Jade and Perry were brought back into a studio to record the words, and then it was edited in to the scene, and that's why, like, you don't see their mouths when you hear those words, because it wasn't said on the day.
I never noticed that.
It's hilarious.
It makes
And
sense now
like,
that you say it, though.
the sound design does not match at all. Like it's so clear that the audios are different, and I find it hilarious.
Yeah, I like remember like I'm remembering thinking it being like off, but never like didn't know like I never knew what the reason was. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, this is what I get for listening to them lip sync too much. Um, this is what I get for like tuning into their voices so much. Um, or really, it's not their voices so much as like I can now hear the difference in the audio quality between the room they were recording in, the mics that were being used, and how that sounds very different from the added in words later
Mm.
on. Um, I laugh. Um, watch the next episode, you'll see it. It happens definitely with Jade. I don't know if it happens with Perry again, but I swear it's Jade every episode.
I want to see it now.
Like, listen for it, I swear. Okay. I loved the intro. I don't know. I really like the intro into the rehearsals, and I love the aesthetic of the rehearsals. I know we technically talked about that last time, but I just want to say it again because I still just really love it.
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's really nice. I also just love like the chemistry that they all have in there. Like they're the what is it? The side interviews or whatever that are like in the middle of rehearsal that they like pull them aside for and they have like sets of like two.
Oh, yeah, the little, like, the contestant talking head interviews.
Yeah, those are just I like those a lot. Like I like how they did that.
I have specifically here that Billy and Louie, when they're talking about how the girls have all this experience and they need to like take notes, but then like what we see happening right when you like cut back to the rehearsal from the talking head interview is just Jade telling them to like be on pitch.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder if like there's more interesting things that the girls say that just weren't chosen for the cut, maybe just for like it was like too technical or too like detail focused, or maybe it was like something, it was too specific to something they were doing that they didn't want to show, you know? I don't know. It made me think like, I was like, I was like, I haven't seen anything that would like make me understand what you mean by that. And I would really have liked to have, you know?
I would love to see like the raw footage from that.
That, I want that. I want that a lot.
Yeah, something I also like am curious about is how they put them into groups, like how they like choose who to go when, and then like when they're like, okay, can we switch you out for you? But only one of them will say it. Like, did they plan that ahead of time, or did one of them just decide it? Like, I'm so curious about that.
I'm telling you, I want the raw footage. I mean, I kind of said this like in the first episode, so I didn't write it down because I was like, don't repeat yourself, but I'm gonna repeat myself because you did it first. So um, I want to know so badly, like how that gets decided, like what's going through their head. Like, is it something they talked about? Like, did they talk about the different combinations they wanted to try, or is one girl just like, hey, can we switch? And the other girls are like, what you doing?
Yeah, like is it just like in the moment, like, oh, like
Like like the girls don't ever look surprised, but like are they secretly like, huh, like why?
yeah.
Like
Like I'm so curious to know that.
yeah, I want the raw footage from the rehearsals, and I honestly wish we had gotten less audition and more rehearsal in the cut time,
Yeah. I also
like
feel
for throughout the
like
whole show.
yeah, same. I feel like this episode we got more of their discussion after the rehearsal was over, like them figuring out who to send home. I feel like we got more of that than we did before, like in the last episode.
um yeah, I agree. Okay, I have something else, and now it's gonna start to seem like I'm picking on Jordan, and I don't mean to be. I didn't like how he was with Rosie, and this is gonna like be something I'm probably gonna comment on for the rest of the show. But it seemed really unprofessional to me, and like if that was me on the audition like in rehearsal, and like I was Rosie, I would feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I get that they were all like everyone was vibing and like a little bit of like cheeky, like maybe flirting on stage or whatever, but like I don't know, the way he was with her, even like Melina and like Rosie talked about it. And I think someone else commented on how he was, and Jordan even said it like in a Talking Head interview. And like it just, I don't know, it seemed really unprofessional to me. Like I get you're attracted to her, but like you're literally auditioning to be her coworker, like in an
Yeah.
environment where boundaries will be really important because you're gonna have to set them for yourselves. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
not
it's
going to be
not
like an HR to really help you decide what's professional and what's not. So like it's up to you to set boundaries, and I feel like he just wasn't.
yeah, it's not like a TV show where everybody who works together is dating. Like they definitely like that was just I didn't like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It made me, I don't know. I didn't like it. Like it made me feel really uncomfortable. Like I felt for Rosie. I understand it wasn't meant to be taken that way, but like especially since it like continues once they're put in the same group together, it's like something that continually gets commented on like in the house, on the show, in some of like I don't know. I didn't like it. It was really uncomfortable for me.
Yeah, and I didn't like how when they were editing it, they like brought attention to it and made that like
A
known.
storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Um, I don't think Jordan's a bad guy. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Um, I really liked Jade's comment when she said like don't turn your back to the audience. I mean, that's not really what she said, but that's what I heard because that's what my dance teachers used to tell me.
Yeah.
um, that's what she was essentially saying is like you have to remember that you're performing to these people, and so as much as you want to like, because sometimes in performances like in dance performances is what I'm thinking of because that's what I used to do. There are times where in maybe there's a storyline in the song that you're doing, or maybe like the formation you're in, like you might be in a position where it would be really easy to like turn your back and like do whatever you're doing on stage. You learn really quickly like you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
For all the reasons that Jade explained. And so I just thought it was really interesting to like hear her saying it. Um, and I also really liked how she did it. So she literally like was displaying the behavior. So she was like, here, I'm talking to you, and now if I turn in too much, and she like turned into the girls, and she was like, now I'm not connected to the audience anymore. And I really liked how she did that. I feel like she explained it very well, and she did a really good job like showing what she was talking about as she was explaining it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that comment being used, like that correction, anywhere other than dance, honestly.
Yeah, same.
So I was kind of surprised when I heard her say it.
I mean, it must just be because they dance on stage.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, maybe other groups hear it too. Because it does make sense that, like, even as a singing group, right? Because even if the girls turn into each other too much to sing, right? They've cut off the audience.
Yeah.
There's like a very special balance, and that's just, like when they do the Wings harmony during the Glory Days era. Like if Jade and Perry go too far and turn their backs too far, they've cut off like the audience. So it's actually really interesting. But yeah, I've never heard it anywhere but dance. So
Yeah.
when I heard it, I was like, oh. I didn't really say too much on the like concert audition,
Me
except
neither.
for Melina stood out to me the most, and Liam surprised me based on how much he didn't stick out to me in rehearsals.
Yeah, same. Like Liam, I like Liam a lot, because he reminds me of an actor that I like. And if you know Hale Appleman, he reminds me so much of him. Um, and so like I liked him a lot because of that. But I had a hard time remembering about him throughout the auditions and rehearsal, and then it wasn't until he was on stage I was like, "Oh yeah, there he is." Like now that you say it, I realized it. I didn't realize that before.
Yeah, he like really like kept slipping my mind up until they were on stage, and I was like, "Oh, look at you go." Like I don't necessarily think that like I don't know, I don't know, I guess he just came alive on stage, I guess.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, he really came out of nowhere for me on the concert audition, and I really felt like Melina just stood out a lot to me.
Yeah. I feel like this performance was just really really good in my opinion. Like I feel like that's how it always is. Like the rehearsal always sounds really rough. And then the actual concert sounds really nice. But I feel like even though all of them sounded like pretty nice to me, I feel like this one sounded one of the best. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I really liked it. I was a fan. I like the choreography that they had going. The chemistry was great. I really liked it.
And then that's kind of all I have. My only final thought was just the disclaimer that this was like one of my least favorite episodes, but that might also like come from the bias of the fact that like the mixed group is one I was like least interested in. Not just because of like who's in it, but just like I wasn't really interested in the concept of a mixed group. So for me, I was like just not quite as invested as I was in some of the other ones.
Yeah, so for the opposite of what you just said, they were actually one of my favorite groups. I was really sad when they got sent home. I don't know. I really really liked them. Them and like some of the other ones later on. I like were my top ones. But yeah, I really liked. I wasn't mad with the final lineup like I was with some of the other ones.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
the only people I kind of wish got through were Billy and Louie, but I'm I'm happy with who ended up in the final lineup. Um, I think they were a good fit together.
I understand how Billy and Louie didn't end up in the final lineup because I don't know how they got to rehearsals,
Yeah,
but I did adore them.
yeah,
But like I said, because I feel like they had to build the band around Rosie and Melina, Billy and Louie never had a chance.
yeah. They didn't.
So because that's just not their performance styles just don't match on stage. All right, overall, yeah, I still enjoyed this episode. I still really liked a lot of different parts of it. But for me, because like a mixed group isn't really my cup of tea, and I didn't like fall in love with any of the people who auditioned, I like just wasn't like in love with the episode as a whole. But I wasn't mad about it either.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I liked this episode probably just as much as the last one. I liked the I don't know, like the live performances a lot. So, there's
I
that.
really liked the upcoming, some of the upcoming. A lot of my liking things is determined by the rehearsals. I really liked some of the rehearsals that are coming up for some of the groups, and that made me really interested in them.
Yeah, especially the vocal instrument group, that rehearsal.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah, yep. So I think just like because of that, I was just less connected to this one. I wouldn't necessarily say I was like less connected to this one than I was last one, because to be honest, like boy bands aren't my thing either, so I wasn't super invested in the other one either. Yeah, this episode was definitely not a disappointment for me. I just enjoy episodes coming up more.
Yeah, I feel like what I liked about this episode was different than what I liked about the last one. So like kind of like what you said, like boy bands aren't really like my thing, like not huge fans of a lot of them. I feel like with the boy band episode, I was really invested with some of the auditions, like um but then in this episode I was more invested with some of the concert elements, and like I feel like it's just different um different parts that I liked a lot. Like for me, this episode didn't have any auditions that I was super, super like invested in like I was with some of the other ones in the last episode. Like it's that type of thing for me.
Yeah, I do think that I also enjoyed some of the auditions in the boy band episode more than this one.
Yeah.
Those are our thoughts on episode 2 of The Search. We will be doing episode 3 at some point. Not like some point, whoever knows in the future, willy nilly. Like, we'll continue to do them consistently. I realized how that sounded, and I was like, wait a moment. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments, if you agree or disagree with anything that we said. As always, please be respectful of us and of each other in the comments, and we'll see you next week.